Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast. We are diving headfirst into Syrup Village with chapter 24, The Man Who Couldn't Lie.
And this chapter ends with a punch that feels like it's been building for Usopp's entire life. A man who has defined himself by his elaborate fictions finally, violently, and beautifully tells his one most important truth.
Right to the Butler's jaw. It's the kind of moment that makes you want to stand up and cheer for a character you literally just met. It's pure, uncut, emotional payoff. If you want to be here every single time one of the Straw Hats defends their dream, make sure you're following the show, because this is just the beginning, and that punch is a declaration of intent.
It really is. So we open right after meeting Usopp and his little crew, the Usopp Pirates, are on a Recon mission. It's such a tonal shift from the end of Orange Town, which was all about victory and setting sail. Here, we land in this quiet, sleepy village and are immediately introduced to a game of make-believe.
Pimon, Ninjin, and Tamanagi, or for those of us who aren't fluent in Japanese vegetables, pepper, carrot, and onion. Their names are so perfectly mundane and childish, which just highlights the grandeur of their mission. They're creeping through town, hiding behind walls, full-on special agent mode because they think their captain has been taken hostage by Luffy and the crew. The loyalty is immediate and absolute. They're just kids, but they're ready to throw down for their captain.
It's a microcosm of the Straw Hat dynamic we're starting to see. A charismatic, slightly foolish leader, and a crew that believes in him unconditionally. Oda is showing us the same formula on a smaller, more innocent scale. These kids don't have grand dreams of finding the One Piece. Their entire world is this village, and the adventures their captain provides within it.
And they take it so seriously. They find them at a restaurant, and from their low-angle perspective, peering through the window, Luffy looks like a monster. He's just housing a giant piece of meat, unhinging his jaw like a snake. Their first assumption isn't, oh, that's a person with a big appetite. It's, that's a creature that has captured our captain.
Which, to be fair, isn't an entirely wrong assessment of Monkey D. Luffy. He operates on a different plane of existence. The kids see this bizarre, rubbery man, and their imaginations, already primed by Usopp's stories, fill in the blanks with the most terrifying possibilities.
And Zoro, classic Zoro, just leans into it. He is the absolute worst, and I love him for it. The kids are peeking in, terrified, whispering amongst themselves, and he clocks them immediately. He turns, looks them dead in the eye, and deadpans that they just ate their captain. Doesn't even crack a smile. He is having the time of his life terrifying these children.
It's such a perfect little character beat for him. It tells you so much. One, he's incredibly perceptive. He noticed them when no one else did. Two, he has this very dry, very dark humor that he deploys with surgical precision. He has this demonic reputation that pirates in the East Blue are already whispering about, and he's happy to cultivate it, even as a joke. He's role-playing as the monster these kids think he is.
It's also the first time we see him properly relax, isn't it? After all the intensity with Morgan and Buggy being tied to a post and nearly executed, here he is just messing with some kids. He's found a crew where he can actually let that side of him out. He wouldn't have done this if he were alone.
That's a very good point. He feels safe enough to joke. And it's Nami who has to be the adult, of course. She immediately scolds him and gets everyone to settle down. She has to manage not only Luffy's chaos, but now Zoro's deadpan antagonism as well.
She really is the glue holding this chaotic group together right now. The long-suffering mom of the crew, and they've only been together for a few days. So once the kids realized Usopp isn't a meal, they explain where he probably is, up at the mansion on the hill.
And this is where we get the first real piece of the puzzle for Syrup Village. The tone shifts again. He goes there every day to visit a sick girl named Kaya. It adds a new layer to Usopp immediately. He's not just the village clown. He has this secret, tender-hearted mission.
But he doesn't just visit, he tells stories. He lies. And the kids say it with such admiration. Listen to how they phrase it. They don't say he tells lies. They say he tells fun stories. It's not a character flaw to them. It's his special talent. It's the very thing that makes him their captain. They look up to him because he's a liar.
Because they understand the purpose of his lies. It's not for personal gain or to deceive people maliciously. It's an act of creation. It's for her. It's a form of escapism and therapy. And these children, with their simple, straightforward worldview, understand that more clearly than any adult in the village likely does.
Exactly. We cut up to the mansion and the whole picture gets way clearer and way, way darker. We meet Kaya in her room and she looks so fragile. Then we meet her butler, Klahadore, and right away the vibe is just off.
Completely off. Oda is a master of character design, and Klahadore is a masterclass in conveying menace through appearance. The slicked back hair, the round glasses that he's always pushing up his nose with the palm of his hand. It's such a weird, specific gesture. And the tailored suit. He looks precise, coiled, and utterly controlling.
And his dialogue matches the design perfectly. He's telling Kaya that he's forbidden Usopp from coming to the property. He lays it on so thick, how it's his solemn duty to her late sainted parents to protect her, how Usopp is a low-born liar and a terrible influence. It's classic emotional manipulation.
He's using her grief and her sense of duty to her parents as a weapon against her. He's framing his control as an act of love. I'm doing this for your own good. Your father would have wanted this. He's systematically isolating her from her only real friend, her only source of joy, and telling her it's an act of love. It's incredibly sinister.
The control is just radiating off this guy. He's talking about her well-being, but his tone is all about ownership. He's decided what's best for her, and that's final. He even mentions he's posted 2 bodyguards at the gate, which is such a flagrant display of power. It's not a home. It's a prison with a well-dressed warden.
Butlers in stories like this are never just butlers, are they? There's an immediate sense that his protection is a cage. You just know there's an ulterior motive. He's benefiting from her isolation and weakness in some way, and Usopp represents a threat to that control. Usopp brings the outside world in, and Klahadore wants that world kept out.
But you can't keep a good telling story down. The second Klahadore leaves, who pops up outside Kaya's window, balancing on a tree branch like it's the easiest thing in the world?
Usopp, of course. He climbs this massive tree just to get to her window. He claims nothing could keep him away, which is his first completely honest statement of the chapter. And the look on Kaya's face when she sees him, it's pure relief.
And he immediately launches into this incredible, ridiculous story about landing on what he thought was an island, but it turned out to be the giant poop of a massive goldfish. It's so absurd, so vivid, and you see Kaya's face just light up. She's completely captivated.
The story itself is brilliant. It starts with a classic adventure trope, landing on a strange island, and then subverts it with this incredibly childish, gross punchline. It's exactly the kind of story a kid would make up, but he tells it with the conviction of a seasoned explorer. He talks about the strange birds and the unique smell. He's building a world for her, detail by detail.
And she laughs, a real, genuine laugh, and it feels like the first time she's genuinely laughed in a long, long time. In that moment, Usopp isn't a liar. He's a doctor. He's administering the only medicine that works.
That's the whole point, right? He's not lying to trick her or to make himself cool in that moment. He's using his one great skill to bring a little bit of light into her suffocating, sterile world. He's fighting her sickness with stories. He's giving her a reason to want to get better.
He's giving her adventures she can't have, cooped up in that room. He's sharing a world outside her window that's bigger and stranger and funnier than she can imagine. It's a profound act of kindness, disguised as foolishness. It's the opposite of what Klahadore is doing. Klahadore uses words to confine her. Usopp uses words to set her free.
Meanwhile, back at the restaurant, the Usopp Pirates are explaining this to Luffy, Zoro, and Nami. They talk about how much they love their captain, how he makes every day an adventure. They gush about his wild stories. To them, he's the bravest man in the world.
It's so pure. Their belief in him is the source of his strength in a way. He has to live up to the legend he's created for them. And then Luffy, hearing about this rich girl in a mansion, has a very simple, direct, and utterly Luffy-like thought.
He has a one-track mind. The conversation goes from sad, sick girl to mansion to fortune, and you can practically see the light bulb go on over his head.
She's rich? Let's go ask for a ship. There is not a single ounce of subtlety in that man. He hears mansion, he thinks free boat. It's perfect. He has a goal, get a proper pirate ship, and every single piece of new information is processed through the lens of that goal.
Nami, naturally, is on the exact same wavelength, but for different reasons. She hears rich girl and sees a potential benefactor. Her motivations are financial, Luffy's are practical, but they both arrive at the same conclusion. Zoro just seems to be along for the ride, probably hoping for a fight or an ad.
So the whole group, Luffy, Zoro, Nami, and the 3 kids, heads for the mansion. They get to the gate, this huge, imposing iron gate, and Klahadore's bodyguards are nowhere to be seen.
Luffy doesn't even hesitate. There's no planning, no how do we get in. He just stretches his arms, grabs the top of the massive gate, and flings himself over like it's a garden fence. No plan, just forward momentum. It's his solution to everything.
I love the reactions. Nami is exasperated, Zoro is unimpressed, and the kids are just in awe. This is the first time they've seen a devil fruit user up close, and it's like seeing one of Usopp's stories come to life. This guy is a real-life adventurer.
We get this great little moment with the other servant, Mary. He's this very sweet-looking man with curly, sheep-like hair. He runs to tell Klahadore that there are intruders, and Klahadore is furious. His perfectly ordered world is being disrupted. He asks where the bodyguards are, the ones he specifically posted.
And Mary just says they're at lunch. It's such a perfect ode to detail. This imposing security apparatus, this symbol of Klahadore's control, is completely undone by a scheduled meal break. It makes the world feel so lived in and slightly ridiculous. These aren't elite guards. They're just 2 guys with a job, and that job includes a lunch hour.
It also shows Klahadore's control isn't as absolute as he thinks it is. The world is messier than his plans. You can't account for everything, especially not human nature or an empty stomach. And it's interesting that the other servant is named Mary. Seems like a name that might be important later.
You think so? I just thought it was a nice name. Anyway, inside, Luffy and the kids find Usopp in the middle of finishing his story for Kaya. He's talking about feeding the giant goldfish to a tribe of dwarves he befriended. The scope of his imagination is just off the charts, from giant poop to giant goldfish to a whole civilization of little people.
And then he sees them, his little crew and this stranger with a straw hat. His 2 worlds are colliding, the fantasy world he builds for Kaya and the fantasy world he builds for his crew, and he immediately goes into damage control.
He tries to play it off for Kaya, puffs out his chest and claims they're his new followers, drawn by his legendary fame. This is my first mate, Luffy. He's a bit of a weirdo, but he's loyal. It's such a classic Usopp move, trying to weave reality into his ongoing fiction.
It's a desperate attempt to maintain his image in front of Kaya. He can't let her see him as just the village liar. He has to be Captain Usopp, the great adventurer. And for a second, you think he might just pull it off.
And then Luffy, bless his honest, simple heart, immediately and loudly says, "That's a lie!" Just punctures the entire fantasy without a second thought. It's not malicious, he just doesn't understand the concept of playing along. For Luffy, there's only what is true and what is not true, and that was not true.
The comedy timing is brutal. Usopp's face just deflates. The grand persona he constructed just evaporates in an instant. Luffy has no time for it. He walks right up to the sick, fragile girl in the bed and says, "Hi, I'm Luffy. Can you give us a big ship?"
The bluntness is just staggering. He's a force of nature that just barrels through social etiquette. Nami is horrified, Zoro is mortified, but Luffy is just being himself. He wants a ship, she's rich, so he asks. It's the most direct path from A to B.
And right on cue, as the social awkwardness reaches its peak, the villain of the piece arrives. Klahadore steps out onto the balcony, and he is absolutely livid. The mask of the concerned Butler is gone.
He shuts Luffy down immediately. You will not get a ship. The authority in his voice is chilling. Then he turns his attention to Usopp, and the mood shifts from tense and awkward to genuinely ugly.
He starts insulting him. It's a calculated, cruel verbal assault. He doesn't just call him a liar. He attacks his very essence. He calls him a lowly peasant, and then he brings up his father. He calls pirates filthy, greedy, and worthless.
And he's not just saying it about pirates in general. He's looking right at Usopp and aiming every single word like a dart. He's trying to humiliate him in front of Kaya, in front of his friends, in front of Luffy's crew. He's essentially saying, you're trash and you come from trash.
What's so insidious about it is how he frames it as concern for Kaya. This boy's very presence will taint you. His blood is that of a filthy pirate. He's weaponizing social class and prejudice to further isolate Kaya and break Usopp's spirit at the same time. It's a masterful piece of villainy.
Kaya can't stand it. She gets so upset, screaming at Klahadore to stop. This is the first time we've seen her show any real fire. She's defending Usopp, trying to protect him from this verbal assault. Her voice is weak, but her will is strong.
But Klahadore just doubles down. He sees he's hit a nerve and he pushes harder. He says to Usopp, "Why don't you just tell one of your usual lies? Tell her you're not the son of some filthy pirate." And that's the line. That's the one he will not let stand.
Klahadore thinks he's cornered him. He thinks Usopp's greatest weakness is his penchant for lying, so he tries to force him to lie about the one thing he holds sacred. It is the single biggest miscalculation a villain has made so far in this series.
Everything changes in an instant. You can see it in Oda's art. Usopp's whole demeanor shifts. The fear is gone, the silliness is gone, his face is cast in shadow. All that's left is this cold fury, and he just decks him. A full force punch right to Klahadore's face. His glasses go flying.
The sound effect in the manga is just bam. It's so sudden and so decisive. It's the first time we've seen him be truly physically brave. Not telling a story, not running away. He's standing his ground, planting his feet and fighting back. And he yells it. As he throws the punch, he yells, "Don't you dare insult my father. I'm proud that my father is a pirate." It's the absolute core of his character, laid bare in one moment of violence. He can lie about being a great captain, about having 8,000 followers, about fighting giant goldfish. He can lie about anything in the world, anything at all, but he will not lie about that.
He's not ashamed of his father for leaving him and his mother. He's proud of him for being a brave warrior of the sea, for chasing his dream. That pride is the one truth he's built his entire life of lies around. It's the foundation. To deny that would be to deny his entire identity.
It reframes everything we know about him. He's not lying because he's a coward, not really. He's lying because he's trying to live up to the impossible ideal of his father. He's trying to be as grand and adventurous as the man he looks up to. His lies are his dream, spoken out loud. This punch is him defending that dream with his whole body.
And Klahadore is just stunned. He's on the ground, holding his jaw, completely shocked that this lowly peasant would dare to touch him. He thought he had all the power, but he failed to understand what truly motivates Usopp.
And after all that, you start to put the pieces together about his father, and it just changes everything. We know from the very beginning that Luffy knew a sharpshooter named Usopp, who was part of Shanks' crew. He even talked about having a son back in some village. And then it clicks. Usopp's father is Usopp.
A name we've seen before. Back in Chapter 1, Luffy knew his father.
Knew him? Bro, he grew up with him. Usopp is one of Shanks' core crew members. He was the sharpshooter on the red-haired pirates ship when they were docked in Fuchsia Village for a year. The man who inspired Luffy to become a pirate was the captain of the man Usopp is so proud of.
The connection is immediate and profound. Luffy and Usopp are linked by the Red Hair Pirates before they even properly meet. They're children of the same legacy in a way. Luffy inherited Shanks' hat and his will, and Usopp inherited Usopp's pride and his dream of the sea.
Which means when Luffy heard Usopp talking about his pirate dad, he wasn't just hearing about some random guy. Luffy knows Usopp. He probably doesn't connect the dots right away since Usopp didn't say his name, but that shared history is hanging in the air. That adds a whole new layer of respect to their meeting. Luffy sees a guy who is fiercely proud of his pirate heritage, just like he is.
It gives that punch a whole new layer of significance when you realize Usopp is defending the honor of a man who is part of the very crew that set Luffy on his path. This isn't just a village squabble anymore. This is personal on a level none of the characters even realize yet.
It's destiny. It feels like every Straw Hat meeting has a little touch of that, where the world feels like it's shrinking just to bring these specific people together. Zoro was the first person Luffy sought out, Nami crashed into his life, and Usopp is the son of his childhood hero's crewmate. Oda is weaving a tapestry here, and we're just starting to see the first few threads.
You know, there's such a rejuvenated, vibrant energy to this chapter. It really feels like the creator was just having a blast putting it all together.
Oh, you can totally feel that. It's not a lazy or tired chapter, it's full of life. It's got silly jokes with Zoro terrifying children, it has the heartfelt stories from Usopp, and it ends with a big, explosive, emotional climax. The man was clearly feeling refreshed when he drew this. It's got that party energy.
Exactly. It's powerful stuff. You can feel the passion coming off the page.
Super powerful. This is the moment Usopp becomes a character worth rooting for, not just a funny liar. He has a spine of steel when it counts. Before this, he was just comic relief. After this punch, he's a future Straw Hat. You just know it.
He absolutely is. And now he's just punched the most powerful man in the village in front of the girl he's trying to protect and the pirates he's trying to impress. Things are about to escalate very, very quickly. The quiet, sleepy syrup village is about to wake up.
I cannot wait to see what happens next. The fallout from this is going to be massive. If you've got a theory on what Klahadore's deal is, drop it in the comments. We want to hear what you're thinking. Is he just a mean butler, or is there something more going on?
Okay, predictions for chapter 25. I'll go first. I think Klahadore is not just a butler. That punch revealed a flicker of something more than just wounded pride in his eyes. My theory is that he has a secret identity, and it's connected to why he's so obsessed with Kaya and her family's fortune. He's not just a controlling employee, he's a predator who has been playing a long game. That punch wasn't just an insult to his pride, it was a threat to his entire plan, whatever that is.
Ooh, I like that. A secret identity. For mine, I'm thinking about those bodyguards. The last we heard, they were on lunch break. They're going to come back, maybe they bring him a sandwich, and they'll find him with a fat lip and a furious expression. Usopp is going to be public enemy number 1. I predict the next chapter opens with Klahadore ordering them to capture or even kill Usopp, and Usopp having to run from them. Luffy will obviously step in to help, and it's going to be our first taste of a real Syrup Village fight.
That makes a lot of sense. The consequences have to be immediate. For my second prediction, I think Kaya is going to be the one to de-escalate the immediate situation. Klahadore will order everyone out, sputtering with rage, but Kaya, having just seen Usopp stand up for himself in a way she never has, will defy Klahadore for the first time. It won't be a big speech, maybe just a quiet, "No, let him stay." She's going to stand with Usopp and demand Klahadore leave him alone. This is the start of her finding her own strength, inspired by Usopp's bravery.
I love that. A quiet rebellion. My last one is about the ship. Klahadore said no emphatically, but now he's the bad guy. I'm predicting that Mary, the other servant who seemed a little intimidated and kind, is going to secretly tell Luffy and the crew about a ship they could use. He saw how Klahadore treated Usopp, and he saw Kaya defend him. He's going to be their inside man, helping them out behind Klahadore's back. He's going to approach them as they're leaving and be like, "Psst, hey, I know where you can get a boat."
The quiet rebellion from the staff. I can definitely see that. Mary feels like a genuinely good person, trapped in a bad situation under Klahadore's thumb. This whole incident might be the catalyst for the entire household staff to turn against the butler. Klahadore has made his move, he's shown his true colors, and now the entire village dynamic is in chaos.
And our future sniper just threw the first punch. It's about to get real good. Join us next time as we see the fallout. This has been Inherited Dawn. We'll see you on the high seas.